Today, I'm going to be showing you how to play Formula 1 GP solo. Now in terms of setup, the first thing I like to do is build the track I'm going to play. So today, we're going to be at Monza. Then we roll to build out the paddock area randomly. This will determine who gets advantage with qualification, but I have just set this in championship order with Red Bull first and Williams last, as I will be playing as them during this video. I then go around all the track and add on the gear speed trap tokens over the top of the regular ones as stated in the track build. Next, set up the race control board, place the tokens by the side and choose a weather type card at random. As you can see, I've drawn cloudy, so we will have to follow the steps written on the card to determine when we check the weather on a certain turn. To do this, we roll the dice and times the result by 4 for cloudy. So we will check the weather on turn 16 when the round marker hits that step. Now I set up my player board, choosing the one which matches my chosen team. Here it's Williams, and I chose my starting tyres, which is going to be softs. So I place my tyre wear token on the softs position at the bottom of the board. I put my overtake token on 0 and my ERS on full battery, along with placing my 3 parameter tokens. Next, I shuffle up the team radio deck, take the top 2 and choose one of them that I like. In this instance, I'll take the max power orders as I might need to attack from the back. I then take my action deck and give it a good shuffle before drawing 6 cards to start the game. This will go up and down depending on my ERS, but it's always full at the start, so I have 6 cards to play with. Next, I'll place all my dice in an easy to reach area where they won't interfere too much. Then I shuffle the driver cards and choose one at random. Here I've got Smooth Operator Carlos Sainz, who will help with battles, and so I then place the stress token on the lowest area. Then I shuffle and place within reach all the event, risk, failure and damage cards, along with the very helpful info ones to make sure I'm keeping track of certain events rather than going through the rulebook. And lastly, for our setup before the bots, we place the low fuel bonus tokens on the 18th turn and put all the other useful in race effect tokens within reach. For bots though, we will have 5 to go against, and they have 2 types, Pro and Rookie. Pros are the more advanced cards you'll see here, who each have various strategies, whilst the Rookie runs will be back markers and will look like this. Each of the bots also have 2 strengths as indicated by the traffic lights in the bottom right. Hard is 3 lights, easy is 1 light. But for this demo, all bots will be pro ones and be on the hardest difficulty. And because of that, each of the bots needs to have a strategy card drew for them to determine what they will do in the race tyre-wise. To determine that, we roll the dice as seen here, and since it's a green result, the Red Bull will start on softs, changing to mediums or wets if the weather changes. You do this for each of the cars, placing the correct token on the card, and as you see, we have some very different strategies going on with Red Bull, McLaren, and us on softs, Merc on mediums, and both Ferrari and Alpine on hards, hoping for rain with a late pit stop, no doubt. Next, we shuffle up both the Battle and Tactics decks, drawing a tactic card for each bot to determine what they will do in race. With us lastly checking tyre wear. This is when their tyres will need to be checked to see if they're going off or not before they come into the pits. So to determine that, we roll the time dice and add on the bonus for their tyres. Here Red Bull rolled a 4, so we add on the 5 for softs, meaning on turn 9 they will have to check their tyre condition. And once you've done that for everyone, you just add the bot tyre check tokens to the race control board like this. As you can see, the soft runners will check first, with the hard runners going very near the weather check, possibly hoping to get the jump on bad weather. But that's it for bot setup. Now it's time for the qualification process, which is determined by paddock position for advantage. So as you can see, Red Bull will be going first and we will be last. And qualification is pretty easy to do. First you roll the time dice. Red Bull here got a 2, which was pretty poor. Then we add on the overtake power, the red number 3 there for Red Bull. That number will be different for every asymmetrical car, like Ferrari are good in 1 lap pace. And we lastly add on the tyre bonus. So Red Bull here have 2 plus 3, which is 5, and then 4 for tyres, meaning they have a score of 9. Not bad, not great. Ferrari rolled a 6, so have 12. Merc rolled a 3, so have 11. But it looks like McLaren have pinched pole from Ferrari by rolling a 6 and getting 13 in total. One of the best results you can get, really. With Alpine rolling a 5, so getting 9 also, meaning they are behind the Red Bull because of poor paddock position, as seen here by the grid before we get a chance to qualify. As a McLaren fan, that result is great for me personally, but for us, we have rolled a poor 2, meaning after we add on our 2 for overtake and our 4 for softs, we only get a result of 8. What a disappointment. As we will of course be starting from the back of the grid for the race, which will now begin. On a race start, the bots act a little differently, as you not only have to start from the lowest gear, but you also have to roll the dice to check their getaway pace. Here McLaren rolled a red, so we used the highest red result from second gear, and as we can see, they have gotten away very well with a 3 movement, adding on 4 movement points for the tyres, so the McLaren will move 7 spaces. A space is the free track tile right in front of you, but in this game the bots each have a preferred racing line and they want to stick into the corners or on the straights. This info is written on the tactic card we drew for them, and for the McLaren they wish to go on the outside line in the corners, so we need to use movement points to get them there. The McLaren moves forward twice to get into the corner, but they are not in their preferred line, so for their third movement they change lines to their preferred one. Move 4 and 5 to see them move forwards to a new corner, so they will then go to the preferred line again. Changing lanes just once for 6, and since this is a yellow preference, it will be fine, as they lastly move forward once for their last movement point. They don't move across 2 lanes to get preference if there is an alternative preference to keep them moving forwards, so the McLaren stops on the corner in 4th gear. The McLaren has a preference to avoid corners, though, so it's stated on the tactics card they will move 1 space back if it will get them onto the straight, but as you can see there is only a corner behind, so the McLaren will stay where it is. The Ferrari also got off to a great start, moving 6 with their tactic, meaning they will stay in a straight line and avoid corners by moving forwards or backwards 1. And as you can see, a straight 6 gets the Ferrari into a wheel-to-wheel battle with the McLaren, but their tactic means they can avoid the corner by moving forward 1 space. And so the Ferrari takes the lead, as during the first lap, you can overtake without having any battles, which is a very important rule to remember. The rest of the pack each follow behind, but the Alpine has stopped on the spin-off zone, so needs to roll the red dice to see if they will spin off for going too fast. Bots do cheat, though a little, as very little affects them, so all that matters on the dice roll is the spin-off result as seen here. If you roll a spin, you need to roll the dice again. Any other result on the roll will see them stay on the track. But if a second spin result is rolled, they will go flying off the track like this. and they will take damage and start last next turn from second gear. If the result is red, you place a mechanical token next to their overtake power, meaning they lose one value. So here the Alpine will now only have an overtake value of 1. Or if it's green, you place the mechanical token next to their tyres, meaning they lose 1 tyre bonus. And so they would only get 1 tyre movement instead. For now though, let's talk about player cards and movement. As you can see, we have a few different cards we can draw. Yellow is a wild card, which can be used as either a green or red, normal or in combinations. Green is our slowest speed, but lets us change lanes freely. Red is our medium speed, but costs us a tyre wear if we change lanes. Blue is our top speed, but means we can't change lanes, and we also decrease our ERS by 1, with the black cards being our tyre wear ones. Useful for braking if we don't want to go 1 space more, but they decrease our tyre wear by 1. The last 2 cards we can find in our deck is event ones, which you need to remove before the end of the race or suffer penalties. And the system fail card we will talk about a bit later. For now though, we will be playing a red card because our car has a +1 movement bonus whenever we play red cards specifically. We can't get it if we play yellows as a red or combine 2 greens to get a red, which also would see us rolling the yellow dice. But because we are in second gear, we get to move 2, and our tyres give us a bonus of 4. So we are allowed to move 6 spaces, 7 with our car red bonus. But we're in the wrong racing line, so we use 1 for our movement points to switch lanes. And because we used a red card, our tyre wear goes down straight away by 1. But then we move 6 forwards and we enter the corner at a higher speed than the corner wants. But because we haven't passed it yet, we don't suffer any penalty. We just need to make sure we start the turn on that corner by using a green card, and we are in a head-to-head battle with the Red Bull. I did forget at this point the yellow flags for the Alpine spinning off-road, so we'll talk about that now. Whenever something happens, you move the yellow flag on race control by 1 towards the safety car. You then place a yellow flag on the incident space and a green flag for spaces ahead. Whilst in the yellow flag area, the bot cars can only use the green speeds on their board and no one can overtake. Once everyone has moved though, you have ended the round and you move the checkered flag token by 1 space to the next turn. If one of the tyre checks or weather gets hit, you instantly do their effects. But for now, we just carry on as is, drawing up to 4 cards, plus or minus our ERS value. For the next round though, the one in first starts the round and you go down until you reach a head-to-head battle, where the one on the inside line will get the advantage, and lastly, cars off track will always go last. But the gear speed of the track tile the cars is on determines their movement speed, as seen here where the Ferrari in first is on the 6th gear section of track. The bots will always try to move as fast as possible, unless they are on a green coloured corner, but it also is if they are on a yellow flag zone. They can also only move via the green speeds. So that's 4 plus 2 for their tyre bonus, along with following their tactic. And that means the Ferrari moves straight ahead 6 spaces to another straight part of the track. And realistically, that's all there is to bot movement. Wheel-to-wheel battles start whenever 2 cars are side by side and mean you can overtake without a battle if one occurs, which in all honesty isn't that often, but at the start you place a token stating which cars are going to be going against each other. Then you increase stress by 1 on your driver. The bots never suffer stress. The car with the inside line gets to be the one who activates first though. And since we have the inside line, we get the chance to win the battle as it's a yellow flag condition ahead and they can't overtake, but they could still go wheel to wheel with us a second time. So we use a green card to go wheel to wheel with the Merc. Yes, we have reduced stress from playing our green card, but it guarantees us we win the battle against the Red Bull, as we have blocked the track thanks to Merc being slow and yellow flags stopping overtakes. The Red Bull pulls up behind us both and the Alpine returns but cannot attack the Red Bull. We do though win the next wheel-to-wheel battle against the Merc because of softer tyres, but for example if we didn't and we were still wheel-to-wheel after our movements had ended, I would have flipped the token over to the stressed version, increasing my stress by 1, and we would have had only one more chance to win the wheel-to-wheel battle. In the challenge for the lead though, the McLaren is currently battling the Ferrari, and because they have more movement, they can attack for the lead from the slipstream instead of the space behind, and only in those spaces can you do that. To complete the battle though, you firstly change the tactics cards to the bots involved, leaving them face down, as a bot will always attack and defend. When you're ready though, flip over both the cards and follow the battle text at the top. Drawing battle cards, you can see the lights underneath both the attack and defend options. If the bots are a hard difficulty, they can use the cards so long as it's allowed for attack and defend, but if it were an easy difficulty bot, they can only use the ones with 1 light. Here though, the McLaren has 5 strength and can attack on the overtake, whilst the Ferrari can't use that card to defend. So we draw another card as they lost, and this time it is usable. So we add up the lights on the right of the card to see who won. McLaren have 5, Ferrari have 3, so the McLaren wins the battle. Move them for free to the overtaking line, and then move them their overtaking value distance. For McLaren it's 3, so they move ahead 3 spaces unless they had to battle again, and so would stop or go wheel to wheel. If the Ferrari had successfully defended though, it would have stayed in front of the McLaren in the slipstream space, or if they were the space behind, the Ferrari would have moved to block them off with their defence. Next though, let's talk about DRS zones and no battle overtakes, as the Ferrari has now caught up with the McLaren in the DRS zone and they have 2 movement points left. The first thing you do is move into the DRS activation point and open up your flap, meaning the Ferrari for free can move 1 space behind the McLaren. But since the Ferrari has 1 movement point left, and there is a gap between the McLaren and the Ferrari, is allowed to move alongside the McLaren, fighting for first place without a battle or causing a wheel-to-wheel battle either. That tactic card wasn't great for McLaren, as it just meant the Ferrari had free space to fight for the lead, but since they are basically in a sort of wheel-to-wheel battle, the McLaren has the advantage with the inside line on the next corner, so we'll go first. Now though, let's talk about what happens when you go too fast after a corner, as I played a blue card to get me into the DRS zone, but I didn't have enough to overtake. On the way I passed a red gear 4 marker, so I could have had an accident on the way. When you Overspeed, you have to roll the red dice and accept the result. Here I rolled a tyre wear, meaning I go down one level, but it could have been a lot worse. I could have rolled a warning sign, which meant I would have had to have drawn a risk card, or I could have rolled the spin-off result, and there is only one way to prevent a spin, and that is the counterspin symbol in the top right corner of certain cards. If I'd have played a counterspin card, I would have had to change lanes to prevent the spin, but if I had no counterspin cards, I would have spun off and suffered damage, which would have meant I drew a card from the damage deck, and I'd have ended up going last next round. Now though, let's show you how to battle a bot as I move one space behind but want to attack the Ferrari. Any leftover movement points gets put in your overtake power, so I get just one overtake point and one little pip. Yes, it would just put us into a wheel-to-wheel battle, but it's also a faster gear space, so let's go for it. We start once more by giving the Ferrari a new tactic card face down, and then we are allowed to play as many cards as we want to make up our battle points, meaning we play 3 and get 7 points in total. 6 from the cards and 1 from our little overtake point pip. We then flip the bot's tactic card over, revealing that they get to draw a card and then roll the time dice to add up their defense points. As you can see, they can use the card to defend, so they get a total of 7 points. It's a draw, but the defender wins the battle, meaning the Ferrari blocks us off with a successful defense, and we waste 3 great cards, but unfortunately that's just racing for you. Now though, on the next turn we get to talk about systems failures, as we end up getting our card in our hand and we can't discard or get rid of it. We need to see what happens to our car, as we drew a random card from the failure deck and have to suffer the consequences. Mostly you will end up getting bad data, but here we get an ERS failure, meaning I place a failure token on my max ERS. For some teams that may be really fatal, but for us it's really not that bad. Regardless, that card will now stay in hand unless we enter the pits or do a fast fix by discarding a red card and the yellow parameter token. That can be different for different cards. You'll always notice in the top right hand corner what you need to get rid of it. And as you can see here, that is something we can't do. So that card now stays in hand until we fix it or go into the pits. When the round indicator meets up with the bot's tyre indicator though, we have to check their tyres. Both Red Bull and McLaren have to check their tyres because it's round 9. And since McLaren is leading, we roll the dice for them first. Getting a green result means their tyres are still going well. They are managing them good. And so we move the token to the pit stop indicator 5 turns away. The Red Bull rolls a red though, so they haven't managed their tyres well. And they will start to degrade by flipping over their bonus, meaning they have 0 tyre bonus for the rest of the turn till they enter the pits, and they will want to enter the pits in 3 turns time to change them. Whenever the turn marker hits the pit token, you then place the marker on the entry to remind them, but the Red Bull have fluffed the call here, and so they missed the pull-in for fresh tyres. That is something that can happen quite a lot with the bots. When entering the pits though, you need to have enough movement points to actually enter like the McLaren does here. And all you have to do then is move them to their garage, ending their turn. Next round you change tyres to yours or the bot's chosen strategy, along with getting rid of any cards you don't want in hand or failures that can be fixed in the pits. And for the bots, you check the tyre wear once again, but as it will be 12 for the McLaren, it means these tyres will go to the end of the race by the clouds coming over and changing the rain. Anyway, once done, place them at the pit exit ready to enter the race track next turn from second gear. Next though is the weather check, and to do that we roll the white dice and times it by 4. If the result is lower than the round number, like it is here, the clouds just remain, so we won't have any rain. McLaren have played a blinder. But if we had rolled the same amount, it would instantly start raining, fluffing everything up, as standing water would enter the race, and everyone not on wet tyres would instantly lose their bonuses, having to roll every single round to see if they stay on the track. But if the result rolled was higher, the weather would change to rain on round 20, meaning everyone would have a chance to come into the pits to change to wets. Now this never happened in the game, but sometimes you will get to overtake back markers, and when it happens you place a blue flag on the about to be lapped car. Roll a dice when approaching, and if it's green, the lapped car will move aside, letting you pass for free, turning into a double blue flagged marker. But if the result is red, the bot ends up being a bit of a twat, and so you need to battle to overtake them. Also, bots can attempt to unlap themselves for all it's worth, maybe causing you issues like Ocon and Verstappen, and that ends up meaning that they will try and attack you, and you are forced to defend or just let them by. It's entirely your decision. Bots will always fight it though. Lastly though, the game doesn't automatically end when you reach the 24th turn. No, you can continue on for more turns, as the game doesn't finish until the one in first place crosses the finish line after reaching the 24th turn. And even then, the one in second place can, with enough movement points, win the race, as the winner is the one who got the furthest past the finish line. But that's only happened to me once, and it didn't happen today, as McLaren won this race, Ferrari finished second, Merc third, I was fourth, battling the Red Bull, who was fifth, and Alpine never really recovered from their spin. But that's the basics of how to play Formula GP solo. Things like safety car don't come up that often, so I didn't need to cover it, along with event cards being pretty self-explanatory when you get them. So hopefully you've learnt a bit of something today, and thanks for watching.